It's time for spring cleaning. I'm Joseph. This is Input English. Indeed, for me, this is time for spring cleaning, but there's a paradox because it's not spring yet. This is winter. I'm recording this the first week in February, but I live in California. And in Northern California, we have what we describe as a Mediterranean climate. We get most of our rain during the winter, and then the rest of the year, the weather is usually pretty good. For a few weeks in the summer, it may get hot, but most of the time it's pretty desirable from a climate point of view to be here. Since I am recording this during the first week in February, it is foreseeable that spring-like weather will be here in fewer than 6 weeks. Fewer than 6 weeks. Less than 6 weeks? Now here is a little funny side trip we need to take, because in English we describe things as being greater than or less than, and the way we do it is interesting. This is an opportunity for you to notice things, we've talked about that before, and potentially speak better English than native speakers with respect to this turn of phrase. Let me illustrate what I'm talking about. So here we have 2 glasses. They have red colored water in them. You could construe that it was wine, but trust me, it's just red colored water. And this one has a small quantity, this one has a larger quantity, and so you could say that this is more than this, and you'd always be right. The thing about water in a glass is it's not countable. You can measure it, but you can't assign a number to it. How much water in the glass? 1, 2, 3? No, you can count ounces. You can count volumes. You can't count water. It's not countable. So if you say this is more than this, you will always be right. But what if you said this is less than this? You would be correct because this is not countable. So far, no surprises. You already understood all this, but I'm setting the stage for this. So I have 2 pencils in this glass, and I have 4 in this glass. So this glass has more pencils than the other glass. But the thing about pencils is they are countable. Frequently, native English speakers would say that this glass with 2 pencils in it has less pencils than the glass containing 4. But that is not correct because pencils can be counted. So the correct way to say it is that this glass with 2 pencils has fewer pencils than does the other glass. Rather than getting all wrapped up in grammar, all I'm asking you to do is notice that if something is more or less and it's countable, then it's more or fewer. And if you notice things like that, it's an opportunity for you to speak more correctly than a lot of native English speakers. But I digress. Back to spring cleaning. Spring cleaning is a tradition that is embraced by many cultures in many locations all over the world. We don't own it here in the United States. We embrace it, but we didn't invent it. We learned it from someone else, certainly. There are many ways to approach spring cleaning. And today, I'd like to give you a perspective on some of those ways. Now, spring cleaning could deal with dirt, dust, grime, so it could be literally cleaning surfaces, or it could deal with clutter. It could deal with both. Most of the time, spring cleaning deals with clutter as well as the need for cleanliness with respect to dust, dirt, grime, grease, etc. On the clutter side of things, I have a quote from Benjamin Franklin: "A place for everything and everything in its place." So one of my goals during spring cleaning is to establish where things go, organize things, put things away, and not just have things loose in the house in a chaotic sort of a way. One of the nice things about doing spring cleaning at this time is that the weather outside is still a little iffy. And so this is a great time to busy ourselves around the house so that we will have a better environment in which to live and work. So if you've established that you'd like to do some spring cleaning, how do you start? Well, in my last video, we talked about getting organized and ways of getting organized. And for spring cleaning, getting organized is a great place to start. Now you have some choices. You could go online and ask for a spring cleaning checklist, and there are lots of them. Some are free, some are being sold, some are being promoted with videos. There are a lot of spring cleaning checklists available. The nice thing about getting a checklist like that is you don't have to start de novo, that is from scratch, from nothing. You can start with somebody else's suggestions and then modify it for your own needs. So I went online and started looking for spring cleaning checklists. And what I found is that they tended to look a lot like clickbait to me. There are a lot of spring cleaning checklists there, and my first perusal of those checklists is I was not impressed. One of the troubles with these published checklists is they are one size fits all. They're general in nature, and they don't take into consideration your particular circumstances. So what I concluded in my search this year for how to get started with spring cleaning is I decided to start from scratch. That is, a blank piece of paper and start writing things out. Now, this is not a foreign concept for me because every morning I get up and write my morning pages. Morning pages, as you may remember, are a recommendation that I got from the book, The Artist's Way. The author, Julia Cameron, recommended that artists and writers develop a habit of getting up every morning and writing 3 pages of ideas to get the flow of ideas going. And her rules that she recommends we live by with respect to those pages is don't go back and read them and never show them to anyone else. They are for the purpose of getting your ideas flowing, and they flow onto the page, and then they are done. They have completed their task once they have been rendered in handwriting on a page. So it's natural for me to sit down, collect my thoughts, and write them out in longhand. So I divided my spring cleaning plan into 3 priorities. One is cleanliness, to deal with dirt, dust, grime, things that need to be clean, like the floor, for instance, baseboards, curtains, surfaces in the house that may have accumulated dust. So cleanliness is a priority. Next is clutter. Now, clutter can be because things are out of place, or clutter could be because there are too many things. It is common for us to accumulate possessions over time, and they gradually fill up our living space. Some degree of vigilance is needed to make sure that we get rid of things that are no longer pertinent to our needs. There is a 4th category that you could include in your spring cleaning, and that is the recurrent chores to keep the household running properly. What's on this list will vary with households, but for instance, cleaning or replacing the furnace filters should be done every several months. And if they haven't been done in a number of months, spring cleaning would be a great time to replace the furnace filters. How about the batteries in the smoke detectors? That's often forgotten, and that's a great thing to have on your spring cleaning list to make sure you've renewed the batteries if they've gotten old. Many of the appliances around the house require some maintenance. Ovens may need to be cleaned. The lint filter in a dryer may need to be cleaned out, and some people advocate cleaning out the entire exhaust system of a dryer to get rid of the lint that may have built up in the tube that takes the dryer exhaust out of the house. Sometimes grime and even mildew will accumulate in a washing machine, and that may require some cleaning from time to time as well. Frequently, a dishwasher will require maintenance, and that might go on to your spring cleaning list. You could extend your recurrent chores to include your transportation. Does your car need an oil change? Is the registration up to date? Are the documents that you're carrying in the car up to date? These are things that can be forgotten, particularly over the holidays when we're busy. And spring cleaning might be a good time to make sure that the car is in working order and that all the documents are up to date. Spring cleaning will be different if one lives in an apartment versus living in a house. Usually an apartment means that you are responsible for what's inside, and the owner or manager of the apartment building is responsible for the exterior. With a house, you have the interior of the house, you have the exterior of the house, and frequently you have some land around the house that may have shrubs or lawn that need to be maintained. Our situation here is I have to do all of that. We have the interior, the exterior, and the surrounding space. In Northern California, the surrounding space is super important. We have a risk of wildfires, and so we are always paying attention to having the vegetation around the house trimmed back, what we call a defensible space, so that a wildfire is less likely to take the house out. One of the decisions that people have to make about spring cleaning is whether they do it on a tear. That is, do they want to do it in a very enthusiastic, energetic way, or do they want to do it gradually over time? You could say that spring cleaning should be done year-round, and that spring cleaning is a misnomer because it should just be year-round cleaning. That's available to people if they'd like to take that approach. The little by little approach to spring cleaning, distributing it over the entire year, has some advantages. And if you are well organized, for instance, following the ideas of getting things done and perhaps using an app like OmniFocus or Things, you could schedule the chores into your day-to-day and spread them easily out through the entire year. I do a little of that, but I admit that every year spring cleaning gets done as well. I have a hybrid approach where I try to stay on top of things throughout the year, but in the spring there's a big push to really get things neat and clean. So I have made my list, and I've started the spring cleaning process for this household. I have expanded it into automobile maintenance to make sure that the cars are working properly and that all the documents are up to date. I have renewed the batteries in the smoke detectors, and I did a tremendous amount of cleaning and neatening over the past several days. So you could say I'm on a tear. I'm really enthusiastically and aggressively cleaning the household. In our next episode, we're going to talk about different styles of spring cleaning and organizing a household, and I'm going to go over the recommendations provided to us by Marie Kondo. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I invite comments below, and if you like videos like this, be sure to click on this one next. See you soon.